Hi and welcome back to my YouTube channel. It's good to have you join me here again today. If you struggle to give concise answers or you are unsure about how to share your accomplishments during an interview, this is the best place to be. Because in today's video, we will focus on how to tackle interview questions. We will focus on what's the best way to let the interviewer know that you are the right candidate for that job. Stick around as we go through this. Now, in the previous videos, we did talk about the STAR framework and how this would be quite a useful response method to answering interview questions. The two key reasons why this is quite useful is that it allows you to provide concrete examples or proof that you do possess the experience and the skills for the role that you are seeking. It also gives you an opportunity to share your examples of how you have successfully handled situations at work or in any other area. So let's start by defining it. What exactly does the STAR framework mean and what does it represent? So it does stand for situation, task, action, and result. So this strategy is particularly helpful in responding to competency-focused questions, which usually start out as a phrase. So for example, you might be asked, could you describe a time when? Or could you share an example with us of a situation where? Now, because past performance could be an indicator, quite a good indicator of the present or the future way in which you will work, interviewers tend to ask, competency or behavioral questions just to determine whether candidates have the skills and the experiences that are required to excel in that job. Generally, they would be looking for proof of skills such as problem solving, analytical ability. They could be looking for teamwork, presentation skills, perseverance, creativity. How innovative are you? We'll go through about 2 questions that you possibly could be asked. So say, for example, they can ask you, could you tell us about an occasion when you had to complete a task under strict or tight deadlines? Or what do you do or what would you do if a team member refuses to accomplish his or her quota of the work allocated? This, I suppose, would be in a group setting, in a project setting, where every member has to play a role. So in this context, we would answer it by firstly describing the context within which you performed that job or faced that challenge. So say, for example, maybe you were working in a group or you had a conflict with a co-worker. This experience would be drawn from a work experience or a voluntary position or any other scenario. So it's important to be as specific as you can. Now, next, you would need to describe your responsibility in that situation that you've described above. So perhaps you had to help out in a group project, or you had to resolve a conflict, or you had to hit some certain targets, sales targets. As companies do set KPIs, performance indicators, key performance indicators for their teams, it would be important to give an example of that. Say, for example, if you're asked about how did you ensure that you met targets, or in terms of conflict, how do you handle a situation where you don't agree with your supervisor or a team member? That kind of way you would be thinking in line of that. So for the action, you would need to describe the specific action that you took to complete that task. So you would describe how you endeavored to complete the task or to meet that challenge. So you would, at this point in time, be focused more on your specific role in this group project. So instead of going about talking about we did XYZ, you would be very specific and say, I did, I performed, I was responsible for these various sections. And then you would move on to the result, where you would close with the results of your effort. So was it a successful project? Did you experience significant growth? Did you hit targets? By what margin did you hit the targets? Did you experience challenges? What challenges did you experience, and what did you learn from those experiences? So that would be important. Now, a very common other question that is generally used as an icebreaker in most of the interviews would be, could you tell us about yourself? Or could you walk us through your experience? Sometimes we tend not to be very sure about what to respond to this question, but I'll generally today give you a brief example of how I would personally go about answering the question. So I would say, my name is Sovereign Njue. I came to Ireland to pursue my master's in strategy, innovation, and people management about 7 years ago. During this period, after this period, I worked as a recruiter, and I did work as well in the finance industry. During my stay here, I also had a keen interest, in healthcare. So hence, when a student nurse opportunity came about, I decided to take it. I am currently working as a practice or a student nurse in XYZ company or hospital while pursuing the relevant qualifications. So you would go ahead and name the certification that you are pursuing. Then you can end it by saying, in my spare time, I do like to swim, go swimming. I do like to read books, music, hiking. And that's your introduction gone. In other sense, you can actually use your personal statement, which is right at the cover page of your CV, to actually answer this question. So make it as brief as possible. Whether you have over 10 years of experience, you can group that experience into industries. You can group it into, number of years worked here or worked in this industry. And you can also group it in terms of what is most relevant. So you go ahead and talk about your most relevant to the job that you're seeking. And then if it's not relevant, or if it's not in line with what you're currently doing, you can go ahead and talk about what you're currently doing and why you have an interest in heading back or looking back into that kind of career. So in a nutshell, since you're not sure or you don't know in advance what kind of interview questions that will be raised by your interviewer, it would be good, to keep, a few things in mind as we come to the conclusion of this video. Number one is make a list of the job qualifications. So we would recommend that you make a list of the skills and the experiences that are required for the job. It is important to do this because it would be good to look at the job and similar roles for indications of preferred skills for those roles, and then try and match your qualifications to those listed in the job description. We did mention this earlier. Also, just write down, have a notebook where you write down and create a list of examples. So for each skill, have about 2 examples that you potentially could give. So say, for example, if it's teamwork, you have 2 examples in company X, and probably maybe from your work experience, as well as maybe voluntary or hobbies. Have that in mind as well. Number 3, match your skills to the job. So whatever examples that you have selected, I will reiterate that it is important to make sure that they are closely related to the job as possible. So don't go off talking about something else when that's not in line with what they are looking for. I do hope that this video will be helpful in helping you prepare for your next interview. Thank you for joining me today, and please feel free to ask any questions in the comments section. We will surely will look at that section and respond to any queries that you may have. It might not necessarily be in relation to interviews. It could be in relation to CVs, cover letters, whatever it may be, or maybe you're seeking a job or an opportunity overseas. It would be good to help you or assist you with that. Also, share with us your experience and your experiences and how challenging you have found the interview processes. Some people do find them quite manageable, while others are a bit more nervous and find them a little bit more challenging. We are all here to learn from each other, so it would be good to hear from you and what experiences you have had as well. I'm wishing you a fabulous day, and I pray that God blesses you as you go about the day. See you again in the next one. Thank you. Bye-bye.